It's really no secret that I play the credit card game pretty aggressively, and to the everyday credit card user, it could seem that I'm irresponsible with how many credit cards I have and how much I pay in total annual fees every year. However, I have always had a very strict plan and strategy that I stick to, that of which I updated in a lot of detail recently, which is what spurred the idea for this video. While it may sound crazy, I am currently 24 years old and I hold 13 active credit cards at the time of me recording, and I pay over $1,500 in annual fees for those credit cards, with plans to extend that to more than $2,000 with the future cards I plan on adding in the coming months. So that begs the question, how the heck do I justify that? Well, we're going to discuss exactly that in this video and more. And by the end of this one, I hope you can maybe take some inspiration and plan out your credit card strategy similar to how I did in this video. My only disclaimer before jumping in is that I am by no means suggesting that you play the credit card game exactly the same way that I do. I'm just sharing my personal strategy and what has been working for me. But do realize that no matter how you play the credit card game, you have to be paying off your cards on time and in full every single month, or literally none of this stuff matters. With that being said, let's go ahead and turn it over to this credit card management spreadsheet that I created special for this video and start by discussing how each one of these credit cards is actually being used in my setup and whether or not I really need this many cards. So as you may assume, as you get into that 10 plus credit card range, each one of your credit cards is going to serve one very specific purpose and usually only help you earn towards one specific earning category, and that's exactly what's the case here. And remember too that most of my personal spend is always going towards new welcome offers, so these earning categories do matter less to me than maybe a normal person using a 1 to 5 credit card setup, for example. But nonetheless, I still have time between welcome offers where the earning categories do matter on my cards, and I want to make sure I'm maximizing all of the value I can from my everyday spend. You're also going to notice this too as I go through these numbers. There are times where I will sacrifice, say, 0.5x return on spend in order to earn in a points currency that I care more about. So just keep an eye out for that as we dive through these. Right now, I'm just going to quickly blaze through each one of my cards so you can see what I'm actually using them for, and then y'all can tell me if you'd used your cards any differently, and I'll also do a summary at the end of the section. These cards are ordered based on the application dates of each of these cards. So starting with my OG Chase Freedom card, which is the first credit card I ever applied for. Well, at least the product changed version of it. I did apply for the Chase Freedom Student first, and now it's the OG Chase Freedom. But this card is what gives me access to Chase's 5x rotating categories. So this card is either getting a lot of use in certain quarters, like this one, for example, where I'm using it for Amazon mainly, or it doesn't get any use at all, depending on what the categories are. So it's just kind of one of those flex cards, and that's why I like it. The Chase Freedom Unlimited is what I'm currently using to give me 1.5x on all of my online personal miscellaneous spend. And I specify online because I'm currently using a different card in my daily wallet that I take with me. And I specify the personal side because I do have business cards that act very similarly in my setup. This is a card that I might consider swapping in for just my day-to-day purchases and sacrificing that 0.5x like I mentioned earlier, because I do value Chase points so highly. But as for right now, I'm not using it in person. And then we have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which is one of my more heavily used cards these days that I'm currently using for 3x back on travel and dining purchases. These days, those two categories are some of my highest spend categories every single month. So this card's been getting a ton of use, and I'm very happy that I have it in my setup. And we'll talk about how I justify its super hefty $550 annual fee later. Then we have the Citi Custom Cash, which I recently swapped back into my setup to give me 5x back on gas purchases. And I swapped it back in because I now have the Citi Strata Premier, which allows me to use the Citi thank you points I earn on the custom cash with Citi's transfer partners. Before that, I was using my Amex Business Gold card for 4x back on gas purchases, but now that card's being utilized in other ways. The Amex Blue Business Plus is one that I really don't use a ton right now because I do want to focus my spend on Chase Ultimate Reward point earning cards, but I still use it for 2x on all of my YouTube subscriptions. So that includes YouTube Premium, as well as all the different memberships that I'm a part of that my friends in the community have access to. And of course, we have a membership too down below if you want to get access to, members only Q&As and stuff like that. But I like to join those for all of my buddies in the space. After that, we have the Chase Inc. Cash, which is definitely my least utilized credit card. And all I use it for is 1x back on one of my subscription services that only costs $5.40 a month. So that card was obviously added mainly for the welcome offer, and I could utilize the 5x categories better, but right now I just don't. After that, we have the Capital One Venture X, which I use for 2x back on all of my in-person miscellaneous spend. And the most amount of use I get out of this card these days is actually for 2x back at Costco specifically. That being because Costco does not accept cards like the Citi Custom Cash for groceries or the Citi Strata Premier in that case. But yeah, in reality, this would be the card that I swapped the Chase Freedom Unlimited in for. And since it has such a high annual fee, it could actually make sense to do that in the future. But we're going to touch more on that in the later half of this video. Then I have the Amex Amazon Business Prime card, that being the only, cashback card that I have, giving me 5x back on all of my Amazon purchases. Super simple, and I don't really have to think about it. The Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card is one that I really also very rarely use. I use it for the 2x back on Spotify just because I want to keep the card active. And then I also, of course, would use it for any of my Marriott purchases, which it would give me 6x back for. But this card is mainly in my setup for the benefits that it offers, which again, we're going to cover later. The Chase Ink Unlimited is my go-to catch-all business credit card right now, giving me 1.5x on just basically all of my business subscriptions. So this card does get a pretty good amount of use every single month with all the subscriptions I have to pay for this business. However, the main bulk of my purchases from my business do get put on a different credit card that's coming up in a couple here. The Built MasterCard is an interesting one. I really mainly use it for 3x back on coffee these days. Like, it's just my dedicated coffee card because I need those 5 transactions a month to get the points on it. And I do use it for 1x back on rent technically. But while I'm chasing these business card welcome offers that require such high amounts of spend, I'm actually using my rent a lot of times to hit those offers, meaning that my Built MasterCard does not actually get used a ton for rent. Then we have the Amex Business Gold card, which is currently giving me 4x back on all of my editing purchases, which is the biggest cost of this business, as well as technically 4x back on business dining is what I'm swapping in because you do get 4x back on your top 2 eligible spending categories on this card every month. But a lot of times I still find myself putting business purchases on my personal cards, like my Chase Sapphire Reserve for dining in this case. And I just do the meticulous work after the fact of documenting which one of those purchases was for personal use and for business use. And then lastly, my new card in the setup is the Citi Strata Premier, which I'm currently using for just 3x back on groceries, despite its awesome 3x categories outside of that, but it's been helping in that regard for sure. Now, a couple of quick notes on this before I scroll down and we look at the summary of my main spending categories. I'm currently holding 5 cards that earn Chase Ultimate Rewards points, 2 cards that earn Amex membership rewards points, and I recently canceled my Amex Gold card, so that used to be a bit higher, 2 cards that are earning me Citi thank you points, and then 1 card in the Capital One ecosystem, the Built ecosystem, the Amazon cashback ecosystem, and Marriott's ecosystem. So overall, I have cards from 7 different lenders, or at least I'm earning 7 different types of points, which may seem crazy, but again, with my strategy that I'm going to be explaining throughout this video, I think you can tell why that makes sense. So yeah, I decided to create a table here for a summary of my main spending categories. And as you can see, I'm technically earning anywhere from like 2 to 5x on all of my purchases, with the exception of stuff like rent, I guess, with the Built MasterCard. But overall, I'm always earning a respectable rate back on my purchases whenever I'm not spending towards a welcome offer that's giving me something like 15 to 30% return on spend. So yeah, you can go ahead and pause this if you want to read any closer into it. And if you're wondering how the heck I know what card to pull out of my wallet depending on where I'm shopping, since this is a ton of cards to actually memorize all their earning categories on, that's where my main credit card management app of choice comes into play, that of course being Max Rewards. For those of y'all that don't know, Max Rewards is an all-in-one credit card management app that allows you to track things like your total point balances, card balances, bill due dates, and more, all in one convenient interface, even if your cards come from a multitude of lenders just like me. One of my favorite features about the app, which goes perfectly in line with this video, is that it'll tell you exactly what card to use depending on your current location or a location that you search for in the future, so you always will bring the best card with you to maximize your return on spend. I also use a ton of their other free features, specifically the welcome offer and retention bonus trackers, because once again, the name of the game is maximizing return on spend, and welcome offers and retention offers are exactly how you do that, so you want to make sure that you are hitting those minimum spending requirements everywhere you can. Max Rewards also has a paid tier called Max Rewards Gold that'll not only activate your quarterly rotating categories for you on your cards like your Chase Freedom Flex, but also automatically activate all of your credit card offers for you, which just helps you save money in the background. If you want to even just try out the free features of Max Rewards, please be sure to download it through the link in my description, and during the sign up process, you can enter the promo code Spencer to give you a 1-month discount off of your annual Max Rewards Gold subscription if you do ever decide to upgrade. Thank you again to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video, but let's dive into the next section of the spreadsheet, that being my credits and benefits analyzer. Okay, so this section of the spreadsheet is basically dedicated to me calculating my effective annual fees on all of my annual fee cards that are active. And before making this video, I recently canceled my Amex Gold card, so that card was up here but now has been removed. And basically what I've done here is taken all 5 of my annual fee credit cards, then separated out all of the credits and benefits that I do use on their cards to give me an effective annual fee that I could then plug into this table up here and see what actual value I'm getting from my cards. A couple of quick notes here. None of these calculations have anything to do with the actual points earned on these cards. This just has to do with the credits and benefits that I use on them. So technically the value I'm getting from these cards is a lot higher than this. And also cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture X, and the Citi Strata Premier are ones that allow me to transfer my points out to these lenders' transfer partners, which is technically giving me a value that is uncapped. I'm saving a ton of points by doing that every single year instead of just, using the portal or something like that. So I didn't have a great way of getting a concrete number for those and just decided to leave them out. So theoretically, this is a lower estimation of what these cards actually give me. Let's go ahead and scroll past this summary table for now and just dive into each of these cards individually, starting with the Chase Chase Sapphire Reserve. So this card offers me 3 main benefits that I actually genuinely use. It offers a lot more than that, just like all of these cards offer more than what I'm listing here. But these are the things that I get value from, or at least hope to get value from every single year I hold these cards. The Chase Sapphire Reserve does have a $300 annual travel credit here that you can see at the top. And the travel credit on the Chase Sapphire Reserve is like the easiest thing to use in the world. I've already knocked that out this year, and it's just automatically bringing the effective annual fee down to $250 from the Chase Sapphire Reserve's $550 hefty annual fee, which is actually the highest annual fee I pay across all of my credit cards. After that though, I wanted to kind of estimate the value that I've gotten from visiting the lounge so far. And I've only had this card for so long, but I visited the lounge quite a few times, and I also have brought buddies into the lounge, which helps me save on that effective annual fee even more. The way that I calculated this, just so y'all know, is basically took the average cost of a drink in the airport, which what I found online was $7.42, pretty crazy, and multiplied that by the number of drinks that I've estimated me and my friends have gotten through the Chase Sapphire Terrace Lounge in my home airport, Austin, Texas, which came out to a total of about $150 saved from that one benefit alone. I've also been to a Priority Pass lounge, which this card would allow me to get into, but I used my Capital One Venture X for that, which we're going to get into later. Now, the real question is, would I have bought these drinks at $7.42 every single time I went to the airport without this access? And most likely no, I'd probably just penny pinch instead. But for the sake of the actual value I've gotten from this card, I'm going to go ahead and list it in my effective annual fee calculations. As y'all know though, this goes for everything I'm about to say going forward. Your effective annual fee should only be calculated based on the value you've gotten from your card, as in the credits and benefits that you've used, while asking yourself if you would have used those credits and benefits before having the card. I'm stretching it a little bit here in some of these calculations, but I just want to make it clear that you shouldn't just be taking all of the credits and benefits on these cards and assuming that you're going to get positive value from them. You need to see what actually fits your spending habits. And then the last main benefit I use on the Chase Sapphire Reserve is going to be its 50% redemption boost through their travel portal. And so far this year alone, I've taken 4 trips through their travel portal. And then the way that I calculated the value here is by taking the amount of points I saved by upgrading to the Chase Sapphire Reserve rather than holding the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which gives you a 25% boost in the portal. Instead of just taking the 50% boost and saying that's the amount of points saved, I never would have booked any travel through the portal without the Chase Sapphire Preferred at the very least. Hence why the difference in points is just between those two cards here. And that came out to a total of 37,500 points saved just this year by using the Chase Sapphire Reserve instead of the Preferred, and at a 2 cent per point valuation with transfer partners, which is an average cent per point valuation over the course of, say, a year of using Chase Ultimate Rewards points. That's $750 worth of value right there. And then all of this combined, the travel credit, the lounge visits, and the redemption boost gave me an effective annual fee of negative $648, meaning that this card is paying me more than $600 a year just by using the benefits I would have been using before having the card. Okay, so that was a bit of a long explanation for that card. We're going to zoom through these other ones a bit quicker. The Capital One Venture X also has a $300 annual travel credit. This one is a bit harder to use because you have to book travel through Capital One's travel portal, but it is one that I do use every year on it. On top of that, I've used the Capital One Venture X to get me into a Priority Pass lounge. And I've only been once, but I went with a couple of friends and we ended up getting, 5 drinks or so, which comes out to just $37.10 saved from this benefit so far. And remember that I could also get this exact same access through my Chase Sapphire Reserve. So far with the 2 benefits I've listed, this card isn't exactly super ideal. It's kind of just redundant in some cases for me, but it is a really good card if you use it to its full potential. This card also has rental car benefits, and I wanted to try to find a way to calculate the actual value that Hertz President Circle status gives you, because I've used that status twice already with this card, but it just was really hard to actually calculate the value of the upgrades that they give you. So instead, what I decided to calculate here was how much money I saved by not paying for insurance every single day with this card, since this card is a Visa Infinite, which again, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is as well, meaning that this benefit again is just not that mandatory to have on this card. But hey, either way, we're going to add that into the effective annual fee calculation because this is the card that I've been using for all of my rental cars so far. So at $40 per day, roughly with Hertz, and the 8 days that I've used a rental car for so far, I've saved $320. And then lastly, it has a global entry credit, once again, which the Chase Sapphire Reserve does as well. And that's $100 every 5 years, which is just $20 annually. That giving me an effective annual fee of negative $262, which obviously is not bad, but I could also capture basically all this value besides the $300 annual travel credit with the Chase Sapphire Reserve and save myself $395 a year that the Capital One Venture X cost me. Next up, we have the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless. This one's a lot more straightforward. It just has a $95 annual fee and gives you a couple of main benefits, one being silver status with Marriott. And funny enough, the silver status that comes with this card is different than the normal silver status that Marriott offers. And I found that out because normal silver status does not give you free enhanced Wi-Fi, But if you do have the silver status with the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card, they do give you that for free. So in just the 3 days that I've stayed at Marriott properties in the last, year or so, I guess, that saves me roughly $40. But the main benefit that this card has is the annual free night worth 35,000 points. And at a 0.84 cent per point valuation of those 35,000 points, that's a $294 value every single year. So of course, the effective annual fee being negative $238 is heavily due to the free night here. And do remember too that I'm planning on upgrading this card to the Ritz-Carlton card, which has an even better free night on it. And that's going to happen in really like September or October, but I'll definitely be using that annual free night before upgrading to it. Then we have the Amex Business Gold card, which is one of my more recent card additions. And this card has 2 main credits that help offset its $375 annual fee, that being the flexible business credit and the Walmart Plus credit. The flexible business credit is one that I use for Grubhub specifically, and that's $20 per month as a statement credit towards those purchases. I have been using those every single month and I plan to continue to do so, even though I do not like monthly credits. That should save me $240 a year by doing so. And then the Walmart Plus credit covers the cost of Walmart Plus the taxes and fees, which comes out to $14.02 per month. For 12 months, that's $168.24 saved, bringing my effective annual fee down to negative $33. And as y'all can see here, that effective annual fee is just really not enough for me to want to keep this card open with all the stuff I have to do to actually get value from it. In addition to that, the Walmart Plus credit is one that I really don't need at all. I should be using like the discounts it gives you on gas purchases and stuff at certain gas stations, but I mainly just use it in place of Amazon Prime whenever I want to order something from Walmart that'll either get there even quicker than Amazon Prime or is just a lot cheaper. Again, I wouldn't pay for that before having this card though, so for me that's really shouldn't be counting towards the effective annual fee, but for the sake of the video and explaining what I do use on these cards, that is technically one of those. And then lastly, we have the Citi Strata Premier card, which is my most recent addition, and the only credit it has to help offset its $95 annual fee is the annual hotel credit of $100 after spending $500 through their travel portal on a hotel. So I have actually not used this credit yet, and while it does seem really annoying to do so, I do plan on trying to use it this year if it makes sense with my travel habits. Either way though, like I mentioned earlier, this card gives me access to Citi's transfer partners, and that is the main reason I probably will never cancel this card, or even downgrade it for that matter, unless I had another Citi Strata Premier on my roadmap, because as somebody on team travel, I do need access to their partners. Now going back up to the summary table here, you'll see that I'm paying a total of $1,510 in annual fees right now across all of these cards, and the total value that I've gotten from each of them is technically $2,697, leaving me with a net effective annual fee of negative $1,187. However, as I mentioned, some of these credits are much better than others, and my effective annual fee could actually be higher than this. And the credits and benefits on cards that I've struggled to find value from, specifically the Amex Business Gold, or cards that have a ton of overlapping benefits like the Capital One Venture X for me with my Chase Sapphire Reserve, are ones that may actually be on the chopping block whenever their annual fee renews next year. So they might face the same fate as my Amex Gold card did recently. We'll just have to see about that. Now, speaking of what I plan to do with all of these annual fee credit cards, let's dive into the annual fee management section of the spreadsheet. Okay, so first things first, like I just mentioned, I have 5 credit cards that I'm currently paying annual fees on, which are highlighted here. And all of these no annual fee cards on here are going to be ones that I continue to keep open because I want them to prop up my average age of accounts for as long as they can. However, some of these cards that I've added later, specifically ones that are business credit cards, could be ones that I do end up canceling if I run into issues with getting approved with certain lenders. For example, Amex could start denying me because I have too many credit card accounts open with them with their 4 to 6 credit card limit, and I might need to cancel the Amex Amazon Prime business card. But until I run into that issue, I'm not going to do so. And Chase could also start limiting me based on the overall credit limit they've allotted to me, which again, if I need to start canceling business cards in order to fix that issue, or maybe just start moving credit limits over from my older credit cards to the newer ones, I'll just deal with that whenever I have to. Yet these cards at the very top here, like the OG Chase Freedom and Chase Freedom Unlimited, those are cards I never plan on canceling because they do prop up that average age so much. Okay, so we have 3 blocks just like this on this spreadsheet that I'm going to dive into. And the first one is just based on my present annual fees that I'm paying. As you can see, the only, highlighted cell here is the Amex Gold card, which I recently canceled. And all these other annual fee cards, like we just talked about, are giving me positive value right now, even though some of these might actually end up getting canceled in the next year or so. So like on the last part of the spreadsheet, I am currently paying $1,510 in annual fees for cards that are giving me more than $2,000 of value, and I'm keeping keeping them all open for now. However, at the end of 2024, all of this is going to start to change. And the main things to focus on here is that for one, I'm product changing my Marriott Boundless credit card up to the Ritz-Carlton credit card. And that's going to cost me an extra $355 a year because the Ritz-Carlton credit card has a $450 annual fee. So that's going to be a big jump. And on top of that, I do plan on adding 3 new credit cards, 2 of which having annual fees, that being the Southwest Performance Business and the Southwest Plus cards. And those 2 cards alone are going to add another $268 to my total annual fee count. So with the addition of these 3 cards, I will be adding $623 worth of annual fees to my overall portfolio, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to cancel the Amex Gold, as it wasn't giving me as much value anymore as it used to. And I wanted to lighten this burden a bit, considering I'm still going to be paying $2,133 in total by the end of 2024. Now let's go ahead and zoom forward to April of 2024, because this is when some things start to change a bit, particularly because 2 of my high annual fee credit cards, the Capital One Venture X and the Amex Business Gold, do have their annual fees renewing by that time. And those are the 2 main cards that I've been discussing possibly wanting to downgrade or cancel. So starting with the Capital One Venture X here, you can see that I already put it in here in the spreadsheet as the Capital One Venture 1. And the main reasons that I'm considering doing so are the following. For one, while the Capital One Venture X again is an amazing credit card, I just don't actually stop at Capital One lounges enough right now. And my home airport has the Chase Sapphire Terrace Lounge in it, like I mentioned, which is why the Chase Sapphire Reserve is my dedicated travel credit card. Now, speaking of that, we also know at this point that the Chase Sapphire Reserve basically covers every single benefit that the Capital One Venture X does. So even though I can get value from both of them, I don't necessarily need to be paying such a high annual fee on the Venture X and trying to claw back all the value every single year, while I could just worry about one high annual fee travel credit card in the Chase Sapphire Reserve that actually gives me all the value I really need. And speaking of other high annual fee cards, remember that I'm planning on adding the Ritz-Carlton card. So I'm sure by April of 2024, I'm going to be hoping to decrease my overall annual fee payments once again. And the best way to do that for me would be by downgrading the Capital One Venture X. That while also maybe canceling the Amex Business Gold, but hold on to that thought for a sec. Remember too that the Ritz-Carlton card is technically another luxury travel credit card. So it has even more benefits that overlap with the Capital One Venture X. And I really just don't need 3 of those cards doing the exact same thing. And I honestly don't even know how far I plan on keeping the Ritz-Carlton card in my setup, but we can update that in a future video just like this one. And then the last reason I'm considering downgrading to the Capital One Venture 1 is because the Hertz President Circle status, which is really the one main benefit I've been using on the Capital One Venture X, will be going away in 2025. And since I do get some elevated statuses with my Chase Sapphire Reserve and I have that same rental car coverage on that card and stuff like that, that could be like the final nail in the coffin as to why I want to get rid of that annual fee. We'll see what I do exactly, but considering the Capital One Venture 1 is a no annual fee credit card that I could downgrade straight to, while still giving me access to Capital One's transfer partners, makes me feel like that's a pretty good idea, at least right now. Also remember too that I could always product change back up if I wanted to. And note too that I'm pretty positive that by downgrading to the Venture 1, I don't mess up my welcome offer eligibility on that card. And even if I did, it's only 20,000 points. So this seems to be the most logical downgrade option for me over the Capital One Venture card, for example. And then as for the Amex Business Gold card, as we talked about in the credits and benefits section, this card is technically giving me like $33 a year in positive value, but I would technically never really use the credits that this card offers if I didn't have the card. Yes, it's really nice that it's giving me 4x back on my highest business expense every month, that being the editing for these videos, but I can very easily get at least 2x back, for example, on the Amex Blue Business Plus even, for the exact same purchases, and I would only really be losing like 8,000 points by switching to that card instead. So to save on that $375 annual fee, I'd say that's probably well worth it. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to do here with this entire spreadsheet is maximize the value that I get from my annual fee cards while ensuring that I'm actually minimizing the annual fees I pay by downgrading or canceling the cards that do not make sense for me anymore. If you do want to see me rank all of the credit cards I have in my setup in a lot more detail than this one, go ahead and check out this video next. And as always, Odin and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.